evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Get Your Bell Rung, Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, KG Landry, and tonight we have the privilege of sitting down with a man whose impact on professional wrestling reaches far beyond anything you'll find on a championship resume. In the business, we often measure greatness by world titles, WrestleMania moments, or Hall of Fame rings, and those accomplishments deserve to be celebrated. But there is another kind of greatness that doesn't always make the highlight reels. It's the kind built through sacrifice, leadership, hard conversation, and the willingness to invest in others when no one is watching. Our guest tonight is one of those people. Bill DeMott entertained millions around the world as Hugh Morrus during one of the most competitive eras in wrestling history. He stood in the middle of the Monday Night Wars, shared locker rooms with legends, and became part of moments that fans still talk about decades later. His name is forever connected to Goldberg's historic undefeated streak as Goldberg's first televised opponent, a moment that has become part of wrestling history. But if that is all you know about Bill DeMott, then you only know part of the story. Long after the camera stopped following him to the ring, Bill helped shape the future of professional wrestling. He stepped into a role where success wasn't measured by his own victories, but by the success of others. He became a coach, a mentor, a teacher. Some of today's biggest names walked through the doors of WWE developmental system with dreams. Bill DeMott challenged them and pushed them, demanded more from them, and helped prepare them for careers that would eventually headline arenas, WrestleManias around the world. That legacy very few people ever achieve. Before we begin, Bill, I'd like to share something personal with you, sir, before I bring you up. Your generation of professional wrestlers means something that goes far beyond championships, television ratings, or memorable matches. Your generation represents some of the most cherished memories of my life. Those were the final years I got to sit beside my best friend, my father, and watch professional wrestling together. As a young boy, wrestling was something that brought us together. As I grew into a man, it was still something we shared. We laughed together, argued over matches together, celebrated together, and created memories that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. So tonight isn't just about having the privilege of interviewing someone whose work I respect inside the ring. In many ways, Bill, you are a living connection to some of the last wrestling memories I have with my dad before he passed away. From that, whether you realize it or not, I simply want to say thank you, because wrestlers often never get to see the impact they have outside the arena. You weren't just entertaining millions of fans, you were helping fathers and sons create memories that would last a lifetime. You gave families something to gather around, something to cheer for, something to believe in, and years later, those moments became priceless. That's a legacy that can never be measured by a championship belt. So tonight isn't just about revisiting headlines or representing stories or repeating stories we've all heard before. Tonight is about the man, the lessons, the sacrifice, the victories, the setbacks, the laughter, the wisdom earned through decades in one of the toughest professions in the world. Bill, whether people agree with every chapter of your journey or not, no one can erase the countless hours you've dedicated to this profession or the undeniable impact you've had on generations of wrestlers and millions of fans. Professional wrestling is better because you were part of it, and your fingerprint can still be found throughout the industry today. It's truly an honor on a personal level, a privilege to welcome a man whose legacy extends far beyond what happened inside the ropes. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill DeMott. Bill, how are you?
Yeah, I can't hear him. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I'm so sorry, man.
Hold on. All right. What about now?
The host unmuted my mic. How about now? I know you can hear me, right?
I can hear
I
you.
can't hear you, so I apologize.
I tell
know
you what.
we were just talking, so I don't know if I hit a button or what the
Why
heck
don't you,
did.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick you off.
Phone? Can you tell that Lacey to get my phone?
Guys, this is what happens live podcast.
Oh my gosh, I know everybody can hear me, so I'm apologizing when I don't even know what's being said. Uh, this is unbelievable. Well, it's typical Bill DeMott stuff. So I gotta tell you what and I think it's so funny that you guys can hear me apologizing for being a knucklehead and can't figure out. We were just speaking. I'm gonna get my phone. Look, how do we do this? I don't even know where's my look at me looking around like a look. Everybody's talking about what a great guy I am, and now I got to talk about what a dumbass I am because I can't figure out the volume. Let me see. Everybody, hold on. Talk more good stuff about me. It's all lies.
Guys, subscribe to this podcast.
Figuring it out. I'm getting there.
Great guests coming.
I'm getting there. Figuring it out.
And we'll get this figured out.
Let me say while I'm trying to figure this out, how grateful. Okay, got it. Drop me. Got you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Bill will rejoin us again. Please subscribe to the podcast. Also, you can now find us on iHeartRadio. You can find us on Spotify. Pretty much wherever your favorite podcasts are at, we're probably on there. So therefore, if you're not able to watch us live, if you're driving down the road or you're stuck in traffic, I will be publishing my podcast right after it ends live. Those in the comments, thank you for commenting. I appreciate that. Mike, Terry, I will have you guys bring your comments on once Bill rejoins us. Again, that's what happens when things are live, guys. You never know. You just never know. And all right.
Come on.
Can you hear me?
Come on.
Nope. Can you hear me, Bill?
Can you hear me now? I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
So that's just a commercial for whatever stupid telephone commercial that was. Brother, to everybody who's listening and KG, let me just apologize. The more you know me, you and I are talking offline, and the minute you go live, I have fingers like Polish sausages. So as soon as I touch something, everything goes to hell. But thank you, brother. Good to see you, man.
Yes, good seeing you too. Look, it happens more than you know. I wish you'd been able to hear the intro. Go back and listen to the very beginning of this podcast, the intro, man. I think that it will touch you. Thank you for joining me. Look, when you said yes, I was so surprised because I have such a small podcast, and you are such a huge figure. You're much bigger in professional wrestling than you know. Wrestling history, professional wrestling history absolutely revolves around you. People ought to talk about Goldberg, and we'll get into that. Without Bill DeMott, there would have not been that streak that was as it was because of who his first opponent is. And we're going to get there, Bill.
Okay.
Before we talk about WCW and WWE, who is Bill DeMott today compared to who you are? Because I did my research on you, brother.
Yep.
Man, especially your social media, you are all about family. About family. Talk to me about who you are now and family.
You know, and first of all, thank you. Thank you very much. You're too kind. And I'm always honored when I get to meet everybody. And we met in St. Louis, and I remember you saying, "Hey, would you do the podcast?" The answer to me, here's my downfall. Not what everybody else thinks. Here's my downfall. I don't know how to say no because I just appreciate a good conversation. And with 38 years in wrestling, I know a lot of the conversation of my 60 years on this planet is evolved around wrestling. But yeah, I am about family, and it's funny because I've always said this. There's people who know Hugh Morrus, General Erection, whatever the case is. You go to all the reincarnations of my character, but people know Hugh Morrus. And what they know is what they've read on the internet or what they've seen on TV but I like the people that I interact with personally and get to see face to face. It's Bill DeMott. And I always say in a very joking, loving way, when everybody tells me what a great experience it is to talk to me, I said, well, you're going to ruin my reputation, right? And I say that with a smile because my reputation is built on when that red light is on.
Right.
And when the red light is on, you become who people think you are. Mm-hmm. But what we tend to forget is I'm only that person to the world for 20 minutes a night, 5 minutes a night, 30 minutes on reality TV, an episode, whatever the case is. But yeah, Bill DeMott's the family guy, and I have 3 beautiful kids, a beautiful wife. My family's awesome. Everything I do is, much like you and everyone else I know, we all do these things for our family, and we have private time, and we have that life outside of wrestling. I had a life before wrestling. I don't remember what that is because I'm freaking 60 and I forgot half the stuff I've ever done. But when we go home, that's what we have, right? And that was the driving force of traveling and still traveling to this day for 38 years. And now at this point in my life, I'm traveling with my family. Like you and I were just talking about it. My wife came with me to St. Louis, which never really gets to happen because she's a working mom. She has a mom. We have a house. We have kids. All these great things. But when I get to share that part of my life with my family on a personal level, it's really cool. And we're up here in Iowa. I make the annual trip to Waterloo, to George Tragos Lou Thesz Hall of Fame. I was honored in 2023 and I was inducted, which still blows my mind till this day. But I bring my family because it's in a family event, and all the boys, and I say that respectfully to the men and the women, all the boys in wrestling, we get together and we don't talk wrestling, we talk life, we talk the journey, we talk about the experience, and we share it with cats like you. And then you come on and do podcasts and share that experience with other people. So my long answer is thank you so much. I've done a lot. I don't really look at it that way, but when I get to share it with everybody, that's kind of cool to me. So I'm a big 300-pound teddy bear, and I love people. But till this day, even at 60 years old, the red light goes on, I'm doing my job.
Couple of comments. Mike Willingham says Bill made a huge difference.
Oh,
absolutely.
Man.
Terry Zeller, a former professional wrestler, WWE. Good evening, gentlemen. Terry, love you, brother. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, man.
Mike again says, there he is. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Something you missed during my intro because you couldn't hear me was I went and I thanked you. And I talked about my father. I grew up watching professional wrestling, Mid-South, Georgia Championship Wrestling with my dad. Into a man, watch wrestling together into my manhood. And I thanked you because you represented the last generation of wrestling. I was able to watch my dad before he passed away.
Oh, man.
And that means so much more than championship belts, being a WrestleMania, because I can tell you, Bill, that I'm not a wrestling historian. I can tell you who I liked, but right. I couldn't tell you who was on which WrestleMania, but I could tell you what match I watched whenever me and my dad that year on TV. And that means so much more. When you hear a fan say something like this, because I know professional wrestlers, they don't really think about, man, the impact you guys really have on people. Talk to me about those emotions.
Well, first of all, man, I always do my best not to get emotional when I can help it because my whole life's emotional. But to hear that, this is why we're talking, brother, because when you share that with me, I don't take that lightly. I don't take that, oh, yeah, that's great. Good to hear it. Thanks a lot, and move on. I never sign an autograph to sign an autograph and push somebody away. I want to hear those stories because, and to be quite honest, I didn't have those experiences. I grew up a single mom, 3 kids, no dad in the picture, but blessed with a bunch of men as mentors. Right. But when I hear a man like yourself, people that I've met in Waterloo, people I've met all over the world, and they say, I had that experience with my old man. or my grandma took me to Knoxville, you know, till I was 27 years old, or whatever the case. We don't get to hear that enough as sports entertainers and stuff. And sometimes we fall numb to the fact that we play a part in people's lives. We're not lost on that fact, but sometimes we're numb to it because a lot of people don't think they can share that. And so here live, I'm going to say it. When you see someone with some kind of celebrity, and especially since we're talking about pro wrestling, please stop them, and before they think it's just sign this so I can go on eBay and all that. And I'm being funny a little bit, I hope, but listen to those stories, and please, everybody share those stories, because that means more to me than anything else I've done. And then when you get to share that, you got to share it with your dad. And if you could share it with your kids, and you could share it with nieces and nephews, and hopefully somewhere down the road, we're sharing it with grandkids and all this other stuff. That's what it's about, man. I truly, from my heart, I say thank you. And I just think that that's so cool that we've been involved in people's lives and we have no idea. But when we hear it, I'm going to get off this, when we're done tonight, I'm going to go off here, I'm going to sit and go, that was the best conversation I've ever had, because it truly, we're all human. You and I are human. Everybody's human. We're all flawed. We're all these things. But when people share that kind of their family history or the things that are important to them, and your dad has passed since,
yes,
and I say God bless him, and I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm so happy that you guys had those things that stayed with you, and you'll have them forever, and those memories. So for me to be in the background and you to say that, super, super cool. And so I urge everybody, share that with the people you've watched or people you go to see or something, because that's what really keeps. And I know that sounds corny, and people go, "Oh, he's just saying that." Listen, you and I both know we didn't talk before this, so we're not planning any conversation. This is real life, and you telling me that means the world to me. And I heard that in Waterloo again this year. A young man named Marvin talked to me and told me what it meant. Now, Marvin is special needs. I didn't know that about Marvin. Marvin's Marvin. Marvin's a fan who comes, and I've seen him in Waterloo for years, but he shared to me how important it is that he had that experience with his dad. And so I'm jealous of you guys, because I wish I had those memories. So I get to be part of your life, and now you get to share that with me. That makes me a winner. Absolutely. That makes my 38 years in this business worth everything there is, brother. So thank you so much. And I think people are lost on the fact that whether we're good guys, bad guys, women, men, whatever it is, managers, we're not lost on that. And we hold that stuff dear, because when we're sitting around talking as the boys, those are the conversations we're having, going, son of a bitch, I just met this great guy, or I just met this wonderful lady, and these kids came and talked to me about how they grew up. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. You want to talk about, every time I know Mr. Herbs watches podcast, my head gets a little big, because I mean, it's Herb Simmons.
Herb Simmons, man.
He says, Kevin, since I met you and been following your journey, you have had good guests. You have now hit the gold mine. Bill is a true deal. Just listening to his stories and his heart speaking. I've been preparing for this because, like I said, watching you and Goldberg with my dad was one of the last matches I think we watched together, and we'll talk about that once we get there.
So awesome.
Let's talk about professional wrestling a little bit. You've had incredible highs and you've gone through some very public challenges.
Yeah.
When you look back at your entire journey, what is the biggest misconception people have about your career?
I think the biggest misconception about, I think everybody's nailed Hugh Morrus down. I think if people think of me as Hugh Morrus, that character on TV and all those things, they got it down, because that's all they're supposed to know is what they see on TV or what they see at a live event or what they see at meet and greets or certain autograph signings for all those years. you stay in character. That's how I made my living as this person. And then as I transitioned out of Hugh Morrus and started using my name, Bill DeMott, they still only got to see the Bill DeMott with the red light on, right? That's what they're expecting.
Right.
So, and fast forward, and you know this, and I know this. And so with the internet and social media and all these things, perception is reality. So I look at my journey as I haven't had a lot of negatives, but the negatives I've had have been life altering. They've changed my thought process a few times about the decisions to get into this business. I question myself as a person because I started to think, am I that guy? And then I sat back and I have a lot of dear friends and mentors in this business. And they said, you did your job. If you can remember that people hated me or the perception of Bill DeMott, especially after the Tough Enoughs, and not for nothing, I guess I made the biggest impression in my career from the Tough Enoughs because people judged me by that guy. So, yay, I did my job, and yay, I was making a lot of money, and yay, I was on TV, but people thought I was that guy.
Right.
So the biggest misconception is taking that at face value. And then we're in that, so I come from before social media. I come before, and there's a lot of guys, and we all come, Herb Simmons, we have this conversation. I've been fortunate enough to talk to Herb about wrestling oh my gosh, forget it. I talked to Jerry Briscoe on the regular, and we talk about, they'll never know. So I feel like this is the time to try to introduce people to Bill DeMott.
Right.
But I think the biggest misconception is I don't care about people. I don't care about the business or whether I'm selfish and listen, if we're being honest, I've been called a lot of things. I've had a lot of death threats. I've had people threaten my family, all these things because wrestling is real, right? Perception, wrestling's real. But I've been called a lot of things. There's a lot of things I am, but I'm not nearly what has been said on social media. And this is going on, at 38 years, this has been going on for a long time. And then, so I always try to remember, they still think I'm doing my job. But it's so cool when these conversations happen because you and I met and you didn't come over and speak to Bill DeMott, excuse my language for a minute. Oh, Bill DeMott's a dick. No, come on, man, let's hug it. I'm not a handshaker, I'm a hugger. And, I'm the worst salesman in the world because I'll give autographs away. I don't want, people paid me for 38 years. It's time to give it back. And that's why I do podcasts. That's why I do appearances. That's why I go to travel the country and do these things, because I want people to see the real side of it. Right. And to meet me, because Kevin, you can't make this stuff up.
Nope.
You can't make this stuff up. I come from a time and a mindset of, here was your job, do your job, and it's gonna break you, Bill. It's gonna break you mentally, physically. It's gonna break you. You have to decide if you want to keep doing it. And I kept doing it. As long as my family knew who I was. Listen, you can't fool kids. I have 3 beautiful kids. They're all grown up now. They'll tell me straight to my face what kind of dad I was. I'll take that all day long. But they'd never, like, as they grew up, especially my oldest daughter, as she grew up, why are people talking about my dad like that? Why are people threatening his life? Why are, when you got police in front of your house a little bit and you got people, that goes beyond the realm of entertainment. And I'm not the first one to say that. And unfortunately, I won't be the last, but I will say this. I did my job.
Right.
And so if that means I did my job, then I hope that people find out for themselves. And that's what's wrong with social media. Everybody gets to jump in and I call them keyboard cowboys. And, and I say this, I'll say it right in the camera, you're cowards. But come and get to know me, then judge me or decide whether I'm the person you think I am or not. I'm flawed as a human being, but I get judged by one person. And as long as I'm good, and I feel like this, as long as you and I are good and we have this great conversation and you're happy with what we do tonight, my day's full.
Right.
My day's full. But I think everybody needs to realize that it's at that point where it's a little bit too much. Like I get I follow, I'm a wrestling fan and a wrestling enthusiast till the day I don't breathe anymore. So I read the internet, and you can't help but see some of these things, and this guy treated someone bad and everything else. Get the full story, understand how it goes. And listen, there's some wrestlers out there, don't get me wrong. There's some wrestlers out there that just completely crap on people. Shame on them. Hopefully they figure it out if they have a career worthwhile. But Bill DeMott, I'm a Jersey boy at heart. I love to have fun. I'm probably more sensitive than I'll ever care to admit. But I love meeting people. And for my son, who's now 17, is going to be a senior in high school, when he sits with me and he goes, that was a pretty cool conversation. That had nothing to do about wrestling. And then we get to drive and I go, yeah, that's what it's about, man. That connection. And like you said with your dad, we made a connection.
Right.
We never had to meet to make a connection. And unfortunately, people try to look for the bad connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I say to everybody now, you want to get to know me, connect with me. Once we sit and we have a conversation other than wrestling or the internet,
right,
then please decide who I am, and then we'll go from there.
You talked about being in the business before the internet.
Yeah.
This is a multi-layered question.
Okay.
When someone says, that's the best era in professional wrestling, first part of the question is, where does your mind go to? What era? And the second part of that question is, do you prefer the fans before the internet or after the internet? Because in many ways, before the internet, kayfabe's real. They're throwing battery acid, piss at you, trashing your vehicle. They don't do that anymore. But man, they are brutal online.
Wow, that's an amazing question. I prefer the fans on both sides of it. Before the internet, I've been shot at. I've been stabbed at. They turned my car over. We've been, people have changed airline tickets, changed hotel rooms to make sure you were screwed up in some way of travel. I've had, you get letters sent to your house. You got people who find out where you live because they followed you for 300 miles on a drive. And I thought, like, wow, what the hell? When I got in, I was like, I was in a match. My grandfather came and drove with me, and they stoned our car. My grandfather was in the car hiding as the windows were breaking. And he goes, what the hell are you getting into? And I went, I got no idea, but we were driving to get out of there. But that stuff doesn't bother me as much as people behind this camera, right? Or behind a keyboard, and whether it's, it's called X or Twitter, whatever people call it, or, Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and all these dirt sheets. When the dirt sheets used to tell the matches before you could see them on TV, because at times you couldn't see a different federation, that's what the dirt sheets were. Now it's all gossip and hearsay, and people are making money off it. I bet they make twice as much money telling the real story about people than they do nonsense. Right. But I prefer before the internet, because if you wanted to trash me, you had to do it face to face. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You and I are almost the same age. I'm 53. You're a little bit older than me, but we come from almost the same generation. Yeah. I get it, man. Mr. Herb Simmons says we need to bottle up what he is saying and give it to others.
Oh, man.
Mr. Herb.
Herb, and like I said, none better than Herb and his son Jason. What they're doing in the St. Louis area and all that stuff's unbelievable. But here's a man who's been in this business longer than me. In his 53 years, this man's been promoting and doing this amazing job, and he's seen it all. And the first thing we always talk about as a bunch of, I'm an old timer now, right? As old timers, we go, how the hell did we survive before the internet? Right. Well, we survived by doing our jobs, and people had to come out to see you. There was no 14 hours of TV every day and, all these things. But yeah, man, it's just such a different day and age. And I think a lot of people get lost in the fact that we have to say, well, you guys have to catch up to how things are done today. I wholeheartedly agree with you as far as business, but how you treat people, we need to go backwards and realize how we treated people. And because I say this to everybody respectfully out there watching, go do yourself a favor, become famous in some way other than someone talking trash, and see how you like being catfished. Is that the term they use now, right? And all these things. But before the internet, before cell phones, before videos, before memes and captions and all this stuff, there had to be more personal interaction. I'm an interactive guy. If you know, how do you defend yourself in 140 characters? How do you defend yourself when someone doctors up a video now or photoshops things? And these poor stars nowadays, I don't care if they're, and I tell the independent guys all the time, please pay attention. But how do they defend themselves now? So you can't, it's almost like you're going into this business negative and trying to prove a point. But the point is, let me do my job.
Right.
Enjoy it. Because if I came to your office building, Mr. Die-hard wrestling fan who wants to say and do things he wants, and I sat in your office and told all your employees what I thought of you, just my perception, you'd lose your job. Your family would fear for their lives. Your children would be hearing things in school that they know nothing about. So I think it's, you know, I always say the table's round. So I try to treat people the way I'd like to be treated. And then I try not to go on guard when it becomes negative. Because if you go on guard, we're two men talking here. We come from the same generation. I was taught a long time ago, family first. And if you hurt my family, or if you make my family fearful, or if I have to explain something to my nephew on the phone that he heard or read about me, then I'm here's the funny turnaround of the whole thing. Then I'm going to become the guy you think I am.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm just not that guy.
You've worn so many different hats. You've been a professional wrestler, a mentor, a coach, a teacher. And yes, there is a difference between being a coach and a teacher, people.
Yes, sir.
What role has been the most difficult, and what role has meant the most to you?
The same role. And thank you for bringing it up, because yes, I started out as a wrestler. I had great coaches, Unpredictable Johnny Rods. Then I went and worked in Puerto Rico, and I learned in Japan and Mexico and all these places. And I've sat under so many learning trees that I wanted to learn camera work. I wanted to learn production. And fast forward, you become an announcer and an agent, a producer, and then a trainer, and then you're a TV personality all over again. And then you become the head of the performance center and running the whole shebang. That's a hell of a career.
Yeah.
And so I've seen it all, I've done it all, and I've always said my favorite thing to do is coach. And the worst thing I've ever done is become a coach. It's a double-edged sword, but it's so gratifying to me. It literally fills my heart that I'm going to keep doing that as long as I can. That's why I go out and do seminars. And I want to tell people the straight up Skippy about everything. Forget about what you heard. Let me tell you, at least from my experiences and where I've been, here's how it works. Now, what they do with it is up to them. Right. So being a coach is a blessing and a curse. But I'm a dad. I'm a coach. The things we do. We're husbands. We're coaches. We're fathers. We're this. At my church, I'm a coach. In my neighborhood, I'm a coach because there's kids there. There's other people. In life, we meet. You and I will talk offline. If something comes up, I come to you for help. You come to me for help. We're coaches. And as long as I get to share and help someone succeed, I'll take all the negatives all day long. But people don't understand when and I don't mean they don't understand, but I think it's hard to understand as far as professional wrestling or sports entertainment. You're not a coach for 6 hours a day, 4 days a week. You're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because your talent, your roster, your students, your other coaches, the people you work with, they have issues, they have questions, they have problems. And if you keep your team and you keep your talent whole, sometimes that means you're wearing yourself out. So that's the downfall to being a coach or a trainer, but so rewarding, man, because I get to sit back and go, I watch these guys. And listen, as a coach, no, I think everybody thinks they need to be liked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer we can be friendly. We don't have to be friends, but I don't get paid to pat you on that, excuse me, language, pat you on the ass and tell you how great you are. I like to tell you how good you're doing, but then let's set our sights on what you're here for. Yeah. But that's in life too. So that's why I have the relationships I have, like with guys like Doc Gallows and all these guys, because they've been through it with me, the good, the bad, and indifferent. And at the end of the day, we're still together as coach and talent. Because I honestly, once I become your coach, and I say this now as I travel the country speaking to students, once I'm your coach for life. And my whole outlook on life is to make sure you're successful in whatever you do. If you don't make it in wrestling, that doesn't mean it's over with me.
Right.
I'm going to help you whenever I can, wherever I can. And so coaching is a blessing and a curse. But it's my favorite part of my 38 years to this point.
Professional wrestling is romanticized.
Yeah.
And we're all do it. If you're a fan, I don't care how smart you think you are. If you are, look, the word mark today is used in a negative way. I don't know why it started being. I am a mark for professional wrestling, right? And as a kid, grew up Ted DiBiase, JYD, famous. I want to be these people. But the reality is there's a price.
There's a price.
What was one early lesson that changed the way you viewed the business forever?
I think the first time one of the boys, and I can't tell you which one, when I started losing friends in the business, or when I started seeing guys or girls leaving the business for certain things, I can't do it anymore. I have to do this. My family needs me. And our dreams get either built up or taken away by the same people that help us make a living.
Wow.
And I think that's a lot of power to give people. Like the fans, I think, and that's the problem. I think the fans know they have all the power now. Mm-hmm. And I hope that it changes, but I've seen people lose their dream. If your dream was to be JYD, then I would like to think that my obligation to you is to help you realize that the best you can. Right. Not to tear JYD down and make him someone that's, a piece of crap and, I don't want to be like that person, or looking at you and saying, you'll never be that person. So everybody feels like they're let down, but I've seen men and women break to the point where this is all they wanted to do. And because of people's perception of them, they've quit the business, left the business. They've taken their lives. Wow. Things have come. We hear so much in the past 4 or 5 years about wrestlers who have been beat up so bad on social media that they've taken their. Come on, man. This is sports entertainment. I grew up watching Pedro Morales. I grew up watching Bruno Sammartino. I fell in love with watching Tommy Rich in a crimson mask. When I started finding out what wrestling was, I didn't look at it to go, let me see what I can do to those guys. I was like, guys are superhuman. And then I got to work with these guys. Then I got to meet them on a personal level and hear their stories. Hearing Tony Atlas's story and his journey is so impactful. The man should have broken 100 different times. And that's all of us, from the not known independent young ladies and young men that are trying now to people that superseded me and are legends. Their journey isn't just all fun and games. There's sacrifice. And we've seen guys like Jake Roberts, who had played out in front of all of us, but to see the turnaround and the positivity and all, because he was living his dream, but his dream was killing his life.
Right.
And people who wanted to see him fail didn't care about him as a person. he's blessed, and I'm so happy for him. But we have so many of those stories, and I'm not sure if I answered the question or not.
No, yeah.
But it always lays on my head of there's so many things that all of us don't take into effect. We don't take into thought sometimes what the fans went through to be there. Although I will say this, wrestlers worth their salt, men and women. And when I say wrestlers, I'm talking about referees, managers, announcers, producers, everything. Anybody in the wrestling business understands that we need the people. We're nobody without the people. We also understand that sometimes you have to, and I'll quote somebody said, you got to learn to eat a shit sandwich. Where if it's something I don't believe in, bite your tongue because that person pays your rent. And I think it became such a powerful statement broadly that now the fans use that against the people they're coming to see. And so here's a side note, because my mind works that way. Why would you pay all that money to go and trash someone?
Yeah.
And then what's that say about you as a person? Like, I could look in this camera and go, are you the knucklehead who just spent $250 for a ticket and then went on the internet and trashed the whole night? Why would you waste $250 if you got kids and you got bills and you got all these things? So if you're investing in us, let us invest in you. But please understand, every one of us, you, me, Herb Simmons, Jerry Briscoe, John Bradshaw Layfield. I met Josh Barnett for the first time. You hear all these stories, all these things. My brother-in-law has problems in life. No, not problems because he's a troublemaker. He's got bills to pay. He works his ass off. He does all these things. He takes care of his kids. He makes sure his wife is good. He keeps his house. He's got struggles. Am I going to go over there and go, hey, why? What's so hard about that? Or, hey, maybe you're a schmuck. Maybe you're no. So people don't understand that's what they're doing to us when they get on social media, or they get out and they start blasting, or they get, listen, you want 15 minutes of fame? I'll lend you a pair of my tights. I'll give you a pair of my boots. Go out and try to do what we do and then talk bad about us. But until you take a year and travel, it's that old, walk a mile in my shoes. Yep. Forget that. Take a year and travel for a year, the day in and day out, away from your family, away from your loved ones, missing your kids' birthdays and dance recitals. And you'll hear this story a lot. But the problem is now younger people are saying this story and they've never even done that yet.
Right.
So a lot of the young, and I say this respectfully to the young talent out there, a lot of them like to tell these stories that they've been through, but they have no idea. Nobody will ever again say they had to work 300 days a year for minimal money at the time and all these things. Now these cats, bless their hearts, are making great money. Their schedule's a lot easier. They get to do other projects, all these things. And they better start thanking the guys before them.
Yep.
They better start thanking the women before them. They better start thanking the promoters before them instead of thinking everybody deserves something. So to the fans, to the boys, to everybody, we don't deserve anything. But if you're working for it, why tear somebody down? Because at the end of the day, I stopped wrestling physically in the ring, but my heart's still in it. My head's in it. I still travel. I still do seminars. So I love the business. Even with all the nonsense you think I'd learn. You think Jerry Briscoe, you think Herb Simmons would have learned after 53 years. I don't need the heartache.
Right.
The business isn't a heartache. It's all this stuff after the fact. And that's why your podcast is so cool, man, because we're talking life. We can always talk wrestling, but we talk like you're one of the chosen, and I don't want to say chosen few because there's so many people out there that get it. And these are the shows and the podcasts that we should be doing. So people look at it and go, well, son of a bitch. I didn't know that. Or wow, that was, I saw something on the internet, somebody trashing Al Snow for the way he treats people at meet and greets. I've been with Al Snow for the past 20 years. Never seen it. But guess what? They got more likes. They got the clicks. They got the thumbs up. They got a couple of follows. And I guess that's good because that's how people make money now. But, bro, I could go on forever like this. So I apologize.
Yeah, it's true. Look, we do recaps of the weekly show AW, SmackDown, and Raw. My rule is, because I'm a non-wrestler, and I have another guy who's a non-wrestler. The non-wrestlers cannot ever talk bad about the wrestlers because we cannot do it better. Now, Bob Cook and Robbie Idol, WCW guys, WWE guys, I'm not going to dictate what they can say. They've been in the business. They watch it differently, right? But I agree with what you're saying. There's people that I'm not invested in because of the storyline, but they're great athletes.
Right.
The problem is that fans just go way too far with aggression. Now, I want to talk about something that we have to talk about, have you in the podcast, which is that Bill Goldberg match. And I don't want to talk about Bill Goldberg. I will talk about Bill if I ever get on the show. Okay. I want to talk about your mindset.
Okay.
Because this is something I've always wondered. And it's not even so much about the match. It's more of the powers that be that came to you that said, hey, we have this guy. He looks like a badass. Hell, he may be a badass. I don't know, Mr. Goldberg. But he's green. We want you, a veteran, a guy that has that has accomplished everything you accomplished, to put this new person over.
Yeah.
I want to know, was that something you took as a compliment? Because like, wow, these people trust me to be this first guy, this new guy's first, or was it a slap in the face? Like, are you kidding me? Obviously, you're a professional. You did your job. I want to know what's going on through your head back then, though.
So here's the other thing so cool about meeting people. They'll tell me the town, the date, what time it was. And so here's what I know. It was Salt Lake City. We were traveling. Best of my recollection, Bill had not even worked a live event or anything yet. He'd just been working in the power plant. I think I may have met Bill one time behind the scenes. And I'll give you both sides of the story. First and foremost, Bill Goldberg. I got no issues with Bill then, no issues with Bill. Every time I see him, I give him a big hug. I thank Bill. Bill put me in wrestling history for the rest of my life. But what a great guy. They invented Goldberg, and he did what they asked him to do. That's the end of that conversation for me. Everybody's got different opinions. I love Bill Goldberg. I respect him. So when I got to TV, I was on a bit of a winning streak. Mm-hmm. And the agent who came up to me said, well, you're screwed and tough. You drew the short straw, and somebody's got to put this guy over, and they like him, and it's going to be a big deal. So, suck it up and do your job. I'd never been talked to like that before.
Right.
Because I never considered once winning or losing was a thing. Mm-hmm. I knew my job. And for a lot of people who've never heard this, I'm a bumper. That's my job. I was blessed with a little bit of speed, a little bit of agility, a little bit of athleticism, and I was a bumper. I knew my job when I got to WCW. I knew my job everywhere I've been. So when I get told in a negative way, it would have been very easy to be negative about it. But if I'm being honest, I dismissed that guy. And till this day, I have no... I wish he would act differently towards a lot of people. But anyway, I go by what Kevin Sullivan said about it, because Kevin put me in that spot. And when Kevin Sullivan, who's a mentor of mine and a good friend, and I miss him, when Kevin said, we need this guy to get over, do your thing, that's the end of the conversation. They didn't say, Bill, hit your signature move that only Hulk Hogan's kicked out of and let him do it. I threw it in there. Right. You want to make somebody? Let's make him. I didn't care that no one knew him. I didn't care they didn't have a name because they weren't supposed to call him Goldberg to begin with. No. He was just coming in as who the hell is this guy?
Right. Yeah.
And by the end of that match, he was Goldberg.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I thought, what a testament, what a test. Okay, let's see if we can help this guy out. I thought the match was okay. The people were excited. They got the reaction they wanted. He kicked out of the moonsault. People went, oh, and till this day, I remember my reaction because there the biggest names in the business that ever kicked out of my finish.
Right.
And he just did it. He got the 1, 2, 3. Oh, and by the way, I didn't get kicked out of WCW after that. Oh yeah, I kept my job. Oh yeah, I still had another 20 years of a career. So why does it always have to be negative? But I enjoyed the hell out of that. And it was fun to see somebody else start their journey, man. And look what journey he had. So I get to say, the humor part for me is I get to say I was his first match, I was his 7th match, I was his 34th match, I was his 52nd match. You know, and that's the fun part because, you know, we all went through the cycle for Bill. That's wrestling history. I'm full. I'm happy. If that's all I'm remembered for, I'm in the history books of professional wrestling? Are you kidding me? Next to Pedro Morales?
Right.
And wait a minute, you're putting my name next to Goldberg, one of the biggest stars in modern day wrestling? Okay. So there was no negative for me. The negative was, and it didn't last long, but the negative was people were saying, oh, he had such an attitude and all this other stuff. And then I had to go to Bill and say, Bill, that never came from me.
Right.
There's no attitude. There's no nothing. Like, just I'm going to take, you know, I'm going to let the biggest secret out. I got paid either way. I didn't get paid more if I won. I didn't get paid less if I lost. I was there to do a job. I did it. I enjoyed it. I'm so stoked that as my son grows up and all his friends are like, wait a minute, that's your dad? Now, because I have, you know, less hair and I don't have the gimmick chin, to go, really? And now now a whole new generation's looking and going, holy crap, look what else he did. Come on. Thank you, Bill Goldberg. Thank you, Kevin Sullivan. So that was one of my favorite things ever. But I didn't look at it that way. I just looked at it as another Monday night.
Right.
And it turned into this big thing. And for if we get really personal, somewhere down the line, I won the U.S. championship. Mm-hmm. And in California, the locker room came out. Unbeknownst to me, the whole locker room emptied out on TV and gave me a standing ovation. And I said that night, I could leave the business right now full. And that meant the world to me. And who comes out at the end? Goldberg, who says live on TV, the streak started with you.
Yeah.
If that's not a tip of the cap, nothing else.
Absolutely.
And then here we are 38 years later, how many years later Bill and I did that dance. And when we see each other, it's a hug and, hey, man, what's up? And that's it. Just two men who did their job and living their dream. And to me, we both came out in wrestling history. Just two different stories in wrestling history. But absolutely. I think people were waiting for that sucked. Why'd I have to put him over? Go look at my history before then. Who didn't I put over?
Right.
Who didn't Ric Flair put over? Who didn't Sting put over? Who didn't all these guys put over? But I was blessed to have, some longevity with it.
Right. Mr. Simmons says, this is the first time I'm missing a meeting to listen to a lesson in my older life. Thank you, Bill, for making it real. My brother, Joe Helms, love you, Joe. He
yes.
says, hey, Bill and KG. And then British Wrestling question, Bill's favorite film of the last 20 years since 2005. My choice is Peter Jackson, King Kong. Yours.
My favorite movie in the past 20 years. Oh my gosh. When was Pumping Iron made? No, that's longer than 20 years.
Yeah, it's about 30
when was El Dorado with John Wayne? Nope, that's longer than 20 years. I'm gonna say my favorite movies in the last 20 years have probably been like the Marvel. I'm a Marvel guy. I have my Marvel shirt on, so all that Avengers stuff's been pretty cool. I'm not a big serious drama kind of guy. I like the fun stuff. I like a little bit of. I'm a superhero guy since I was a kid, so I'm a big mark for all that stuff.
Yep. You know, it's funny you mentioned that you were told that you got the short end of the stick and you're the one that has to put over Goldberg. But this is the thing. This is what's shocking about that. Because although I think Bill Goldberg would have gone on to be a star, he would have not been that guy without you. And I tell you why.
Thank you.
My father, after that match, he was pissed that you lost. He said, that's bullshit. He's like, there's no way, even as big as Goldberg is, that he could be the crazy son of a bitch like Bill or like Hugh Morrus, right?
Yeah, thank you.
That was the key. You weren't some guy that was easily beatable.
Yeah.
You were, like you said, the cameras are on. We think you're this badass, right? And it took Bill Goldberg having to not only beat the badass, but kicking out of that badass, his finisher, for him to go on to have that type of career.
Yes.
Do you agree? Do you think, yeah, Bill Goldberg would have had a great career, but not to pat yourself on the back, if I was his first opponent, things would have been completely different?
Yeah, I think there's man, what an awesome topic this is. No one's, and I say this in 38 years, no one's ever asked this aspect of the Goldberg match. So thank you for that. Man, you do your homework, brother. That's awesome. Yeah, I do think there's a part of it, but I think it's an honest. And so let me backtrack. The person who told me, tough, you drew the short straw. That's just the way life is. Don't bitch about it. Just do your job. That person was never happy in wrestling.
Right.
I know that for a fact. That man has his own wrestling lineage and all those things, and good for him. But if you would have put anybody else in that match, it could have taken longer, or it may have been a slower build. And all the credit goes to the booking committee and everything else. It doesn't go to me. I was going to do that match with someone that night, so why not? But I think it would have been a slower build for Bill. I think at the time, in my sleek state of 340 pounds doing the moonsault and doing the other things I was doing, I think that was a key to it. And the fact that I had a good following and a good build-up to that. So I think the booking committee did a great job, and I think I was the right choice. And I'll use somebody who I absolutely think the world of is Lance Storm. But I think if you would have had Lance Storm against Bill Goldberg that night, I don't know if it would have went, the way it did. Because fast forward, and you know this as well as I do, so many people want to talk about William Regal and Bill Goldberg. Mm-hmm. Right? That match they had. And people said, well, Regal this and Regal. No, Regal did his job.
Right.
Whether it showed that Bill wasn't quite ready or not, that's not for me to say. What I can agree with you for, and I thank you for that, is that I was the right guy for that job, and I believe I was the right person to help boost Bill into everything he's accomplished. Now, I didn't do it. Bill did it, but I think I was the right opponent at that time. So, yeah, very few times where you'll hear me say, I'll take accolades or I'll take praise, and I accept that, and I thank you for that, and I appreciate you saying that.
100%. We're starting to run out of time a little bit, and we're hit up in that hour mark. I cannot have you on this podcast and I talk about someone that I know is very special to you, and you just mentioned him. A guy who, again, professional wrestling in my era and on would have not been what it was if it wasn't for Kevin Sullivan.
Come on, man.
A brilliant, he does not get the credit he deserves when you talk about brilliance.
Yeah.
Brilliance. I've read stuff, just brilliance. When you were in the faction with him,
yeah.
Look, you were in two massive factions as far as I'm concerned, the Dungeon of Doom, and then the original the family with
the first family with Jimmy.
Family, right. Now, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, what a great guy. I haven't had long conversations with him yet. I'm gonna have him on here.
Oh man.
But I've had conversations with him. Sweetheart of a man.
Yeah.
But Kevin Sullivan, I think, was that much more to you. Is it because of, do you feel like you just meshed better and you felt more at home with the Dungeon of Doom because of Kevin Sullivan? And tell me exactly, if you can, what did that man mean to you in your career?
So I met Kevin when I was working in Japan. And Kevin had been on a couple different tours. So, I was that kid, and I say kid because I'm a very big kid. I always say I'm the round guy walking down the street that you kind of go across the street from. So here I am. I have this stature to me and all these things. I meet Kevin Sullivan. I turned into a kid, because I knew who he was.
Right.
And again, let's go back to what we're talking about, the internet. I didn't read it on the internet. All I had was magazines or a VHS tape to see the character Kevin Sullivan. So when I met Kevin Sullivan, I was a mark and was like, you know, I didn't carry a camera. We didn't take pictures with each other and all that stuff. But I did this. He said my name. He knew my name. That was all I needed. Kevin met me. He gave me a few pointers because he saw something in me. He always said it's because I was big and fat guys need love. That's what he told me all the time. And I missed that a lot. But I met Kevin a bunch of times. He gave me some great things to do. Kevin heard I did the moonsault. So in his next tour in Japan, he said, if I don't moonsault, I'll never work in Japan again. So that's when I started to do the moonsault every night, because Kevin threatened me with, if you're stupid and don't do that thing every night that's going to get you attention, you're never going to work again. So I moonsault. I do what he says. I think a lot of people have heard me tell a story. Vader and Paul Orndorff got into that big brawl in WCW. Vader got fired. Kevin called me that night. Couple simple questions. You still wrestling? Yes, sir. You still fat? Yes, sir. That's all he ever called me was fat. He said, be on a plane, be in Macon, Georgia tomorrow. I go to Macon, Georgia, not knowing anybody in WCW. Now I'm back to being a mark again, because I'm in Japan and Mexico, and I did 3 years in Puerto Rico, and I'm making a little bit of a name for myself, but now I'm going to the big leagues. Right. What people are, you know, perception of the big leagues, WCW, WWE, WWF at the time, whatever it is. I meet Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, and Kevin Sullivan in the bathroom of the Macon Coliseum. They looked me in the eye, said, Kevin's vouching for you. He says, you're the guy that can do the job. They didn't tell me what job it was. He said, you're the guy that can do the job. Here's what we're going to pay you. And the four of us shook hands. I left that night, got back on a plane the next day, went home and said, I think I have a job that I don't have to leave the country for. And Kevin Sullivan guided me the rest of the way. And here was what he said. Shut your mouth and do what I tell you. That's all I need. There was no questions. There wasn't, why do I got to lose? Why do I got to wear this? Why do I have to laugh? Why do I have to have... No. Here's a genius. And then I found out what kind of genius he is. Then I sit under the learning tree, brings me into the Dungeon of Doom. Why does he bring me to the Dungeon of Doom? Because the best big men in the business at the time were all part of that faction. Now, if we're being honest, we were all a bunch of goofs. We were there to put guys over, take bumps, and do the things that normal-sized guys wouldn't do, or didn't look as good as when you're knocking Haku over with a chair, things like that. So I'm learning. Kevin, shut your mouth. Keep your head down. Do what you're told. It's going to work out. That's the way it stayed until Kevin passed away. Every time we met, Billy, keep your mouth shut, you fat bastard. That's all I needed, that and a hug. But to me, that's the rules of this business. Keep your mouth shut. Do what you're told. And then when you have the opportunity, take advantage of it. You know, you heard things like the learning tree and sitting with, you know, Sullivan, my son. Everybody thought that was for TV. We sat in the studio for hours listening to him. Right. And the stories that were being told. I was a kid in a candy store. Bumps, I don't care about bumps. Let me finish the bumps and get into another meeting. Let me get into another locker room. I learned so much from that guy. And just to be honest and fair, I learned about what not to do by watching. You know what I mean? And by being part of, you know, things in this crazy business. So he was always teaching me something without saying, let me teach you something. And I think I adopted that a lot in what I do, because that was very similar to Johnny Rodz. I always said Johnny talked in parables. Johnny told you stories without telling you things. Well, Kevin didn't tell you shit, and you still had to learn it. And then I was paired with Jimmy Hart for 6+ years. And everybody goes, oh, Jimmy's just his manager on TV. Jimmy guided me on how to survive the road. So when I see Jimmy all the time, there's a hug. That's all that needs to be done. We don't need to sit and talk for 45 minutes. I'm a survivor because of guys like Johnny Rods, Kevin Sullivan, Jimmy Hart, Chicky Starr, all these people that Paul Heyman, Jody Hamilton, the assassin, all these people, Steve Kern. I mean, I can go on forever. And I'm not naming wrestling superstars yet, because we don't talk about Hogan and Savage and Sting and Flair and Arn Anderson and how all these people, Triple H and Taker, and how everybody took me under their wing and showed me something. And for the record, I'm a 30-year-old man at the time. Mm-hmm. And not to sound crazy, I'm a 30-year-old man who can handle myself very well. I'm not afraid to kick somebody's ass. I'm not afraid to think someone can kick my ass. But I never say this, and you'll be the first one I ever say it to. I'm a man's man. Mm-hmm. So there was nothing that was going to, oh boy, let me not do that. No. But I learned my lessons early. I learned when to eat that sandwich. I learned when to bite my tongue, knowing that it would come back around and I'd be able to take advantage of an opportunity and move forward. And I think we lose that. People don't want to wait. It's this the day and age of instant gratification. But let's be honest, they don't have to do what we did. But here's the thing. I didn't have to do what Thunderbolt Patterson had to do to get into the business. I didn't have to do what Tony Allen. So, instead of, that's like me getting in the business and starting to bag on Thunderbolt Patterson because he did it a different way. He paved the way. Right. How am I bagging on Jerry Briscoe? I learn from Jerry Briscoe every day. When the phone rings and Jerry calls, you listen. And if it's just to tell me I'm a big dummy, then I'm a big dummy. But that's the way Vince was. That's the way Eric Bischoff was. That's the way all these guys were. And if you just took it for what it was instead of taking it personal, and that's why I say I know the difference between personal and business. When it got personal, it was put to a stop really quick. And when it was business, here we are 38 years later. And it's like, I'm so charged up now, I feel like I could put my stuff on and go. Like, I love talking about this business. It made me who I am. But it didn't make me who I am. It allowed me to be me in front of the world. And sometimes that's not a good thing, right? But I think we can all say that. People have moods and people have things that are going on in life and everything. But God, what an opportunity. So I miss Kevin a lot, man. And here's what I'm grateful for. I got to tell him how much I loved him and appreciated him. And he'd always tell me, shut the fuck up. But I always give him a hug and go, thank you, man. I love you. Give him a kiss on the cheek, and that's it. Same with Jimmy. I see Jimmy. I love you, man. We don't have to sit and talk. You're a busy man. I'm a busy man. Just know I love you and I appreciate you. And I'm good with that.
2 more questions. I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, let's do it.
The first one is, when it's all said and done, when your name's mentioned, do you want people to remember a superstar, a teacher, a coach, or a mentor?
I don't. Boy, here's where I'm going to get in a lot of trouble, right? People are really going to go on the internet after this. I've never considered myself a superstar, first and foremost. I don't care how we're categorized, and I never heard the word superstar till I got to the WWF, and where everybody was considered a superstar. I still to this day say I'm not a sports entertainer. I'm a professional wrestler. That's what I set out to do. I want to be remembered as a guy who cared. That's it. Because I care about everybody I've dealt with outside of wrestling. And I tell them, as long as you're doing good, that's all I care about. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care if you're successful. I don't care if you quit the business and become an accountant. I want to know you're having success as an accountant. All I want them, if people remember anything, I'm as real as it gets. That's all I want them to know, and that I cared. So I think I just want to be remembered as a coach who cared.
The next and final question is almost the same, except when your life is done and that last chapter is written.
Yeah.
What do you want your family to always, above anything else, say about Bill DeMott, the man?
My dad loved me. That's it. I know he loved me. That's it.
That's awesome, man. And I'm sure they do. Like I said, I haven't had the opportunity to get to know you personally, but from the research I've done, the pictures I've seen, you're definitely your family's everything, and I get it. Same thing, man.
You, brother. Yeah,
brother. I thank you so much for having this conversation. Look, I would love to have a part 2 next time.
Let's do it.
Because there's so much I have to ask you, life questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's set it up. You said I can't thank you enough for this. Like, I need you to know this is therapy because you don't. It's not scripted. It's not it's like two guys talking, and we get to talk to the world. You know, and so this is therapy to me. And I'm gonna get off here when this is done. Grateful.
Thank you.
Because you reminded me of why I do what I do. And you reminded me who I do it for. So I appreciate you more than you know. And I'm in for part 2. I'm so grateful to all the people that allow us to do this and for you to bring on your guests and you. I think it's very easy for people to talk about wrestling, and for you to talk about life is super, super cool. So please don't ever change that.
Thank you.
You're amazing, dude. And I'm in for part 2, and I'm just grateful.
Thank you so much. Last comment. Terry Zeller says, I think every new guy to the business needs to watch this interview. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, Terry, thank you.
That. Guys, please subscribe to the podcast again. And don't forget, I'm going to be posting this. This is going to be on where you can listen to all of your favorite podcasts, including Spotify, iHeartRadio. It'll all be on there. Bill, again, thank you so much. Guys, tomorrow night, we're going to be talking pro wrestling. We're going to be talking Monday Night Raw. Myself, Bob Cook, and Robbie Idol. Find out if we loved it. Did we like it? Did we just think it was okay?
Right.
You know how Bob Cook is, man.
Yeah. Yep.
You know how he is. So we'll find out by tuning in again. Subscribe to the podcast. Guys, stay tuned. You heard it live. Bill DeMott says he's coming back to part 2. I will schedule that as soon as I can. Right. Until then, Bill, thank you so much, my friend. You are such an awesome man. I appreciate your honesty and being so open and being raw. I appreciate that. Have a great week, guys. Bill, have a safe trip back home, my friend.
God bless you, brother. Thank you, everybody. Hey, we'll talk soon. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Right,